Hello everybody, this is Jack Gleason with MajorLeagueTrading.com coming at you with our Nadex weekly video. Usually I do this video on Sunday night, but it is Monday, midway through the trading day here, and I'm getting to it a little late. I was out of town. But anyways, we'll go over the setups here, and I'll show you guys what I'm looking at. For Tuesday, we have a lot of news events coming out, a lot of bank president speaking. We have Draghi speaking for the European markets, then Carney, Governor Kuroda for the Japanese yen, and then Yellen for the US dollar. And then at 9:30 we have the PPI numbers. On Wednesday we have the average earnings index at 5:30 a.m. for the Great Britain pound, followed up at 9:30 for CPI core retail sales and retail sales. Crude oil inventories are going to be at 11:30 on Wednesday. 11:30 a.m. East Coast time, and then unemployment change and unemployment rate at 8:30 p.m. for the Australian dollar. On Thursday, we have the Great Britain pound retail sales and unemployment claims at 9:30 a.m. for the US dollar, and then at 10 a.m. Governor Carney will be speaking for the Great Britain pound. Friday, we have Draghi speaking again, and then at 9:30 we have CPI and building permits for the USD. CPI for the Canadian dollar, and then building permits for the USD. So those are highlighted news events for the week that we want to be aware of. And then I'm going to show you guys the markets that I'm looking at here. Last week, the strongest market was the Nasdaq, and what I'm looking at is pretty much like the three levels I think we're going to trade in between. The lowest level of support I have, and obviously we could trade lower than that, but if the first level I'm looking at is 62.68. I would like to see a retest. I don't know if we will get it. And then I'll look for breakouts above 63.40 half. Now, my upside profit target on the week is 6,403. And the Nasdaq's the strongest performing index on a 5-day and 10-day period as of right now. So that's been the stronger market here. You can see we actually held a 50% retracement from Thursday's low to high. That was a 62.8275, and that targets up into 63.38. 63.38. That's this low to high. Then when that trades, I will look for a pullback. So taking the low of Thursday to the high of Friday, dividing that number by 2 has been our support. If we make a new high, I'll take the low of Monday to whatever the high is of the week, and then I will look to trade that as a support level for the Nasdaq. So that's what I'm looking for here in the NQ. And remember, we have 4 indexes to trade in Nadex. It's the S&P, the Dow, the Russell, and the Nasdaq. The Nasdaq is the strongest one, so go with the strength, fade the weakness. That's really the simplest way that I like to trade. And let's move on to the next market here, which is oil. Oil had a really big run and finally moved into a consolidation last week. I do think that we're just going to build a little bit of a flag here, and bullish prices can continue. Now there's a couple of untested levels of support that I want to look at, and the first level is a 56. So 56, the open here of November 6th, which is this last big candle up, is where I want to look for a potential long setup. I've set an alert at that 56 area. The Nadex strikes in oil are a little wide for my preference. They're about 50 cents wide on the daily, and those are the contracts I do prefer to trade the daily. But if we get down to that 56 level, there is a Nadex strike at the 56, 56 half, 57, 57 half, so on and so forth. So I'm going to be looking at the 56 strike for a potential long setup going into the rest of the week. So I'll wait for that pullback. If we do get below, I'm looking at 55.40, which is just right about a retest, a front run of the retest of the breakout. So those are the two levels that I plan on trading going into the rest of the week here for oil. So I've set my alerts, and I'll be waiting for pullbacks at those two levels. Moving on to ZC. Now ZC last week in the video talked about potentially breaking out of this wedge one direction or the other, and we had the crop reports, which come out once a month. And what we did was we tested the upper end of that range and then broke down. So we actually sent out an alert for the 345 strike, And as we cross below that, you can see we have continued to sell below that. So what I'm going to watch for going forward is the prices have broken down here in ZC, and you can see we're really very close to lows of the year. If we get back above this, I'm looking at the bottom of this candle, which is where we had broken down from. That's a 345.75. I'm going to be treating that as a resistance level when it trades again. So I've just moved an alert at 345.75, and I'm looking for a retest of resistance. So this is just, the general area of support becomes resistance. There's buyers, and then boom, those buyers become sellers on retest. That's the type of setup I look for. So that's what I will be watching here in the ZC market going into the rest of the week. Moving on now to the USD CAD, which had a really nice uptrend going back to really the last week, second to last week of October. And we've come right into this bar here, which is an October 25th bar. We've come right into that level, and we've bounced from it. So I'm watching this downtrend line, and if we start getting acceptance back above, I'm really looking for us to get back above the 127.50 level and then 127.75. When that does happen, I will be looking for potential support trades going into the rest of the week to trade back up, and I think the USD CAD can move back up towards the top of the range, 128.86. So looking for a break of this trend line. I'm just going to set a couple alerts here, but looking for when the market does start coming back into the USD CAD, when bids do start coming back in, that is the setup I am going to look to trade. But that's going to conclude this week's Nadex trade plan video. Everybody trade safe and enjoy your week.